Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, dear brothers and sisters. The blessed month of Ramadan. And in this holy month, it is more important than ever that we take full advantage of this time, because as we've seen from our brothers and sisters in Philistine, we never know which Ramadan will be our last, and we never know what conditions will meet us in the next one, or even if we will reach it. So brothers and sisters, make the most of this time that you have. Here we will give 7 Islamic points and principles about how to prepare before Ramadan. Stick with us until the very end, because the last one is probably the most important one, and it will change the way that you view yourself and your relationship with Ramadan, inshallah. Do not skip ahead. Do not be weak. Number 1, perspective. Your perspective about Ramadan is the most important thing for you to get right before you approach it. The only thing that is comparable is your niyyah. Make sure that you have a niyyah salihah, a pure intention, one that is for goodness. Understand that the month of Ramadan is not an inversion of your normal life, wherein you continue the same eating, the same excess, the same haram, just 24 hours different, doing it at night instead of the day. Subhanallah, this is a time for you to develop tarku shahawat, or rather, in English, control over your desires. This is a time to develop zuhd, or asceticism, but that which is compliant with Islam, living in simplicity, only taking the minimum that you need. We do this by repenting, not just repenting, which is something we'll cover in much more detail later, but also by restraining ourselves in the halal. If you're restraining completely halal things, like intimacy with your spouse, eating, drinking, how much more important do you think it is to restrain the haram? This is the most basic tenet of gaining iman. Anyone can enter Islam with just la ilaha illallah. So do you really want to be on the same level as someone who just entered Islam? Many of you are born Muslims for decades, your whole lives even. Is that really the level that you want to stop at? Wara is leaving off of all haram, abstaining from all of the major sins, and in fact, trying to stay away from the minor sins, recognizing that they can easily become major. This is the most basic level of a believer before they can reach iman, which is the level of true faith. This is where you will find nur and goodness. You will find spiritual cleaning, control in your heart. You will be able to rope in your nafs and your inner animal. You will be able to control your spirit, insha'Allah. This is also a time when there should be a permanent increase in your iman, in your taqwa. These are the things that determine your rank as a Muslim. And if you've fallen off of the path, removing yourself from sunnah prayers, even falling into haram, this is the time to clean your life. This is your boot camp, restarting your relationship with Allah. This is when you leave disobedience and pursue the acts of obedience. This is a madrasa, as many scholars and people of knowledge have said. It is a time for you to reform yourself, and you should not be the same person that leaves Ramadan as you were when you entered it. Principle number 2, prepare. As I mentioned before, this is your time to prepare. Prepare and schedule ahead of time your reading of the Quran, which you should be reading every single day. If you had a tremendous business month where you knew all of your work would be done, wouldn't you plan for it? Wouldn't you prepare the sales and the stocks? Of course you would. This is your month to trade with Allah, to clean your heart, to trade in these things in this dunya, these temporary pleasures, these meaningless nights, and turn them into something packed with meaning and beauty. This is where you can correct yourself and move closer to Allah through charity, through reading the Quran, at least 1 juz per night. You must come with a plan and a schedule in advance, because during Ramadan, as I'm sure you know, there's not going to be a lot of time. You're going to be tired and you're going to be exhausted, and making a plan is the last thing you're going to want to do. So make it in advance. Expect to have no time. Buy your food in advance and make a meal prep plan. Plan out easy meals that you can make in the morning and meals that you can make at night. Plan out how much you need to eat in order to satisfy your caloric requirements. Try to do the minimum that you can. Read at least 1 juz per day of the Quran and read it with tadabbur, understanding and contemplation. Read it with a translation, because it is meaningless to simply recite the words of the Quran if they do not penetrate your heart. By doing this, you will prepare for the biggest month of the year, and inshallah, through preparation, you will find success. Principle number 3, holding yourself back. In the month of Ramadan, it is well known that the shayateen are chained. The gates of hell are closed, and the gates of heaven are flung open. Subhanallah. This is the time when many are saved from the hellfire, and it is also a time when, very sadly, many do not take advantage of this time, and many even fall into major sins. Subhanallah. How is this? If the shayateen are chained, how is it that people will fall into major sins? Well, there are a few explanations that I've heard that made the most sense to me and that I will share with you. One is the example of a chained tiger. Look at the tigers in the cages at the zoos. They're still a caged animal, and they're still incredibly dangerous. They can't come out and chase you, but you can still go into them. And if you enter the cage of a tiger, it will still kill you. This is the same case with the shayateen. For those who pursue their sins, it is made easy for them to stay away. The sins are no longer chasing you. It is you who is chasing them. And it is this realization that will make it much easier for the brothers and sisters who find themselves struggling during Ramadan. Know that it is you that is chasing that sin. It is your behaviors that is bringing you closer in proximity to it. It is your lack of self-control. Think of the case of the sprinter who is running full speed in one direction, and suddenly he is told to stop. Is he able to stop immediately? Of course not. He has momentum, so he will keep moving forward, even accidentally, until he is able to stop himself smoothly. In a similar way, if you are barreling along at full speed in your sins into the month of Ramadan, are you going to be able to stop immediately? Your life has a certain momentum. There is a certain series of habits that you do on a regular basis, even though you do not intend to or mean to. Subhanallah, this can carry many people into a very difficult and terrible situation. So stop yourself now. Get your life under control. There's also something very important to reflect on in this, and that is that thoughts have the same effect as doing a sin. Subhanallah, this is tremendously important, and this is actually something that's proven recently in neurological studies and even in sports science. They did studies comparing two groups of people. One group of people who actually did the action that was requested in the study. The second group of people who just thought about doing the action in the study. And actually there was a third group of people who did nothing as a control to measure the differences between these groups. This is a standard in scientific studies. What they found was incredible. The control group, of course, did not change at all. And the group that practiced, of course, became much better. But the fascinating finding was the second group, who just sat down and imagined doing the action. They improved by 30%. Subhanallah, it was as if they had had a literal practice, and they found that there were actual changes in their brain that made them better at the action when they actually did it. Do you know what this means? The people who sit down and think about sins, even though they're not doing them, are actually practicing. They're actually getting better at doing those evil things and changing their brain and changing their heart to be the same as the people who do them. Subhanallah. The same is true of people who think about good thoughts and think about doing good things. They are actually changing their heart and their body and their mind to become that better person. So control yourself, brothers and sisters. Hold back. Remember that the tiger is chained, but it is not toothless. Stay away from it. Follow the sunnah. And do not think of sin. Rather, think of the good. Principle number 4, self-awareness. Do a full self-survey and be honest with yourself. The Sahaba radiallahu anhum were known for their brutal self-honesty, the humility and the tremendous goodness of these Sahaba radiallahu anhum should make our hearts shake. It should make us realize our status and our position in this world. and how corrupt and how far we really are from greatness. SubhanAllah. We need to try harder and harder every day, brothers and sisters, to be like they were, because only by being the way that they were and striving for that greatness can we bring about a truly great ummah again. Therefore, take yourself to account. Before and after Ramadan, be honest. Correct yourself. Ask a friend or a close and trusted confidant to really help you. Another important tip is to do an evaluation every single week. Set a day, set a time, and set a place, such as on Friday, after Jum'ah, I will sit down and I will open my book and I will do a self-assessment of myself. When I have some free time, after everyone else is napping, I will stay up for a half hour and I will complete a self-assessment to see if I'm on track with my goals and with the things that I set out for myself as I prepared for this Ramadan. May Allah make it easy for you, brothers and sisters. Number 5, forgive and ask for forgiveness. Ramadan is the time when you can make up for all of the wrongs that you have done. No matter how much evil you have done, no matter how much of an evil or destructive person you have been, you can change. You can become better, and you can choose to do it right now. You know who I'm speaking to, and you know who this applies to. And there are many of you, sadly, who may not know and may not realize at all. But maybe you can think of someone else who has done extreme harm and is harming other people. I'll share with you a story of a man who killed 99 people. Perhaps you've heard of this story. The man made his way to a holy man, and he asked him, "Is it possible that Allah will forgive me?" And the holy man said, "No, it's not possible." And he killed that man right there where he stood. The man continued to search after he had killed 100 people. Imagine what led him down that path, to have killed 100 people at a time when it wasn't the way it is now, where people drop bombs without looking at someone. He had to be there in person. This is not an easy thing to do, subhanAllah. And this man went to a true person of wisdom and asked them, "Is it possible that Allah will forgive me?" And the man said, "Yes, it is." And he taught him about tawbah. He taught him about istighfar. And looking at this story, we can derive certain principles about tawbah. One is that he was sincerely repenting. He was sincerely regretful for the harm that he had done. Two was that he actually turned away from the evil that he did. He tried to make a new life. He removed himself from the situations that would have caused him to fall into sin again. He tried to even leave the place where he was and go to a new land. Of course, he also apologized to Allah and asked for Allah's forgiveness for his sins. These are 3 of the most important steps of tawbah. However, something that many people forget in this process is that there's an additional right that's added on when you've harmed other people, and that is that you have to restore their right if it is possible. If you have cheated someone, fooled someone, stolen from someone, then return their things to them and try your best to restore the rights of those who you have harmed and damaged. Otherwise, these people will have a right over you on the last day. Therefore, we do sincerely hope that you will look into tawbah and seeking forgiveness, not only for those who you have harmed, but seeking or allowing other people to seek forgiveness from you. Because the fact is that if you gain forgiveness for everything that you have done, but you don't forgive anyone who hurt you, then in the end, you will harbor hate in your heart, and this will destroy you, brothers and sisters. There's almost nothing more toxic than hatred for another human being, especially one who deserves it. This is very ironic, but you will see this every single time. Every single time you look at those who have been oppressed, and they deeply hate their oppressors, they are destroyed people. However, you see people who have come back from the brink, who have been destroyed and oppressed, and yet they have this beautiful resilience about them, a beautiful light about them that nobody can extinguish. These are the true winners, and these are the people who move forward. Now it is possible that you have a complete right to hate someone, but it is like drinking poison and hoping that other person will die. Does that make any sense to you? Your hatred is not what protects you. Rather, it is what stands in the way of your healing. It is very possible for you to cut someone out of your life, or even to punish them, or seek their punishment, or seek justice, or seek reparations for yourself. but not to hate that person. But this is a very high level of iman. We do hope that each of you can reach it, and that you can find a peaceful balance in your life between protecting yourself and protecting your heart, inshallah. Number 6, be dignified and peaceful. Sakina and waqar. Sakina is peace, brothers and sisters. It is a peace in what you do and in what you feel and in how you behave. And you can see it on people who really experience it. It's impossible to fake. Sometimes you enter the presence of someone and you feel very calm, very accepted. You feel their strength, their resolution. You feel their wisdom, and you feel very much at peace, almost as if they are a burning fire and you are a small candle that is not usually lit, but somehow being near them, your candle is lit, its fire increases, and somehow you're able to think clearer, you're able to see things from a loftier perspective, and you even feel like a better person. And this is one of the things that reminds me to remind you that great men build other great men. They are peaceful, they are dignified, even in challenges, even in difficult times, even under impossible situations. They retain their dignity, their waqar. As you are hungry, remember to tell people, I am fasting, I am fasting. There's a dua in Hisnul Muslim to say exactly this, and I'm not going to tell you how to say it, not because I don't know, but because you won't search for it. So search for it, brothers and sisters. Download Hisnul Muslim. It is completely free. May Allah make it easy for you. May He remind you that this is a time for you to be dignified and patient, and not to fall into sins, and not to become like the masses who rove about and are so impolite and horrible with each other as they rush about to make it to Maghrib, and as they rush about to break their fast, cutting each other off in line at the restaurants, trying to just get what they need for their family and for themselves. Subhanallah. Where did the spirit and the purpose of Ramadan go in those moments? It's almost ridiculous and comical to watch if it weren't so sad. Do not be from amongst those brothers and sisters, and do not let your family members or those close to you be from amongst them either. Rather, remind them about the purpose of this Ramadan.